So, are we live yet? Is this the live? Maybe not. Maybe it is. Maybe, who knows? What's important is that those little numbers there are moving, so that means something is definitely happening. Now, is the live on or not? Well, it's a good question, and it's a question that I'll let others answer in my stead. Not really a big fan of this. Okay, so let's begin on the first topic. I really want to make some, or talk about some ideas I have about the Aurric Patricians. I just like these guys. I think I probably spelled their name wrong, but whatever. What's important is that I really like these guys, and since they have no lore at all on themselves or anything else, I decided to give them some. And since they have such a cool name and such a cool color scheme, maybe let's cut down some of that cool factor, huh? What do you say? And what better way to do that than by making them average Joe? So in my opinion, the Aurric Patrician, what we know, the Aurric Patricians are made in an unknown founding, have an unknown gene seed, and that's kind of about it. We know their colors and that's it. So let's make it like this. They're middle of the road. They're not specialists in anything. At the end of the day, they're just a little bit good, a jack of all trades, if you want to say. They're just a little bit good at everything. So let's make them interesting in a way, though. They're a friendly chapter, okay? Not Vulcan friendly or Salamanders friendly, where they can be like, oh, let's save all the humans. Middle of the road space marines. They believe the Emperor is a god, though, so that's an interesting aspect that should be given to them. Belief in the Emperor's divinity. That really sets them apart in a way. But still, average Joes. And why do I say they're average Joes? Remember when I said they were friendly? Well, they are friendly with everybody they meet. Imperial forces, of course. And thanks to their campaigns, they've managed to gather a few relics. Now, those relics are not big relics, important relics of their history. They don't really have a culture per se or a history. They're creating their own one, newer chapter and all. And what they're doing is basically fighting alongside certain chapters, and they receive gifts from those chapters. For example, the chief apothecary of the Aurric Patricians did such a good job alongside the Blood Angels that they offered him a symbol, a teardrop with the wings. That's it. There's nothing special. It wasn't medals, no important Blood Angel ever held that before. It was just something that they gave them. A token gift, a gift of friendship. You know, more symbolic than anything important. And so, the chief apothecary put it on his armor, and every chief apothecary now has to wear that. I think that's an interesting thing. They also got a gift from the Imperial Fist, and what they got was a power fist. Yes, I'm gonna be generic like that and just say they got a power fist from the Imperial Fist. Now, they're also not very creative when it comes to names, so they named this gift the Imperial Fist. Yes, I know I'm a genius. I'm very creative, just like the Aurric Patricians. From the Space Wolves, they got a Lightning Claw. Good, they named it the Wolf's Claw. At least this one's a little bit more creative than the Imperial Fist. They got the Flamer from the Salamanders, a jetpack from, what was it, the Raven Guard. So they gather these things, and they're their holy relics. They're not really important or special. They have no benefits. No other important person ever held them. But they care about them, and those are their relics. That's what gives them culture. That's what makes them special. Well, special to them because, you know, they're average Joes. They're not really good at anything. They haven't been part of giant campaigns, only fought minor battles here and there. They don't have a homeworld of their own. They're fleet-based, of course, and because of that, there's not the culture that comes in with the people from their home planet, and thus they're making their own in the process. I think this is a nice aspect and thing to give them, because so many other chapters already are bound to the culture of the place they come in, even if, you know, they're supposedly not doing that, but let's be honest, there's a bunch of ball influences for this Blood Angels and so on, especially the Ultramarines and how many chapters they have. They're trying to build their own culture, which is created from diverse and distinct members and everything else they've done in their whole campaigns. And because of that, they are building something up that they are proud of. Now again, I say they're a newer chapter because it kind of makes sense to me. They happened, I think, before the Primaris were introduced, so they're, again, new. This is just my fan theory, my head canon, so take it with a grain of salt. We're here to have fun. So they're a new chapter before the Primaris. They adopted Primaris into their ranks slowly, but eventually. Not all their members are replaced, because I don't like Primaris and it's my headcanon. I can do what I want. Not all their members are replaced by Primaris. Some still hold to being a firstborn, and they mix and match that whole process. Sometimes making firstborn, sometimes making Primaris. You get the gist of it. Nothing really that special. They're trying to be good at everything. Their gene seed is, as I said before, I think, of unknown source, which is they don't really know who their Primarch is or what chapter is their parent chapter. And because of that, it just so happens that nobody really claims them. They're not that friendly with the Dark Angels, but that's because they tried and the Dark Angels were not as receptive to their friendship offers like the Imperial Fists or the Blood Angels or the Salamanders. Dark Angels just wanted to be done with their job and move on. So they don't really have, or they don't have any Dark Angel relics, but that may change in time the more they campaign through the universe, they fight in the Indominus Crusade, and the more they get to fight alongside chapters of the Unforgiven. And that's all I had, to be honest, for now. Nathan, yeah, of course. Yeah, but do they have Fem Marines though? That's the way forward, sweetie. No, they're average Joes, bro. So they don't. They're misogynistic. That's what they are. They're misogynistic. The term escapes me, bro. But I thought I was dying there. Yeah, no, they don't have Fem Marines, not yet. But they will be the first to have it. And they'll mix Fem Marines with the Primaris and the Firstborn because why not? To make really a diverse chapter. Hashtag cancelled. Yes. We need to cancel the Aurric Patricians. Too much masculinity. Too much of that patriarchal society and that yellow skull of theirs. So yeah. Okay. This was that. But what really provoked me to do this is I couldn't really held on to this. So I'm just gonna make a few changes to this. We're gonna talk about the topic I wanted. Why the Warhammer Fantasy Wiki is wrong. I'll probably clip this or something. It's just gonna be me spurting out about history, honestly. So that's gonna be fun. Well, for me it is. Love how you said misogynistic as if it's a gene seed trait. You know what? It might just be for them. It might just be they just don't like women. They don't even fight with the sororitas. To them, that's unimaginable. Like the sororitas. Why would we fight with them? Ew, cooties and stuff. Okay, that's gene seed trait. Oh, good one, bro. Now I need just to make this bigger. Excuse me while an ad about some random Marvel drivel plays in the background. Okay. This is it. This is what annoyed the hell out of me. Now this comes from the wiki page of, what are they called? The Blood Dragons. The Blood Dragons are like an elite unit of vampires for Warhammer Fantasy, yada yada. I think everybody knows this. But these guys are cool. I like the Blood Dragons. I like knights and dragons and vampires. Who doesn't? But what really provoked me was this last line in the trivia section. Dracula, the definitive vampire created by Bram Stoker, means son of the dragon in Romanian. Now this, I'm gonna be honest, this triggered me. I'm not even joking, this really triggered me to that point where I was like, no. You see, Dracula means nothing. It's not a Romanian word to mean something. Nothing. It's a made-up word. It means nothing. At the end of the day, when people refer to Dracula, they're referring to the vampire created by Bram Stoker. There is nothing that means son of the dragon in it. The origins of this misconception is interesting because you gotta know Romanian history to get into that. And I said this is gonna be boring and it's gonna be me spurging, but alas, it is what it is. The name Dracula is a transformation of the word Dracu, which means the devil. In a way, it's the devil or demon. But still, this name was the name of Vlad II. It came in as a sort of title because he was a member of the Order of the Dragon. And since in Romanian history, shall we say, or Orthodox Romanian perspective, Saint George killed a drac, a demon basically, not a dragon. His name was Vlad Dracu. It was Dracu because of that. And the weird part is that people saw that symbol. It was a symbol of a dragon. So the conclusion, Dracu, the demon, the devil. And they called him that. Interesting aspect, his house name was... No, it's not Vlad II. I think it's Vlad I. Whatever. Little detail that's escapes me right now. The interesting thing is that his house, which was an off-branch of House Basarab, was called Drăculești, which, again, has no meaning because that's a name. What does a certain family name like Teller tells you? They probably were snitches and had stitches in their life. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't really mean anything in the context of the Romanian language. His son, which is portrayed in Bram Stoker's book as Dracula, was Vlad III, also known as the most based Chad you can ever find. Vlad the Impaler. And that's one of my favorite history figures, to be honest. I just like it. His history is interesting. The whole history of House Drăculești is interesting, but it dies off at some point in the 1700s, I guess. That name means nothing. As his title and as he's known, he's Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Țepeș in Romanian. He's not Vlad Dracul. He's not the son of the dragon. Though he was a member of the same order, if I recall correctly. That's an interesting aspect that sometimes gets mentioned off. It's not really brought up that he was a member of the Order of the Dragon. But he's never referred to as the son of the dragon, as the son of Dracu. He's always referred to as Vlad the Impaler, Vlad III, or sometimes Vlad III of House Drăculești. It's never the son of Dracu. It's never the son of the dragon as the Wiki here proclaims it to be. And I don't like it being like that. I changed this. I've entered the Wiki, it's like the first Wiki I ever changed, and deleted the whole line because the whole line is wrong. And they brought it back up. And that annoys me. Because this is the perspective of somebody that knows Romanian, is Romanian, and knows history. This is wrong information here, and it creates a bad way of looking at things. Especially when you consider there are people out there who believe that vampires are a caricature of Jews. Yes, that's like orcs and black people. They're making a coalition of monsters. It's dumb, and it just spreads lies. What's with this? Again, son of the dragon is not correct. Doesn't mean anything. Dracula means nothing in Romanian. And the fact that Bram Stoker is also responsible for the most famous thing we have here, and fortunately, for the biggest lie in history, is quite a double-edged sword. Exactly the same way The Witcher should probably, or The Witcher creator should probably be truthful about his Aurric inspiration. But at that point, it affects a whole country. Here's a fun fact. When Obama visited Poland at some point, they gave him a gift pack. Usually dignitaries, politicians, presidents, whatever, get a small gift pack with cute little ornaments and things. Symbolic, of course. And one of those things Obama got was a copy of The Witcher, the first book. So, it's important to their culture. And again, being like, Dracula's not really a thing to us, it's made up, kind of destroys a bunch of the tourism that comes in to Romania. What do you say, Nathan? Despite garlic being a key ingredient in Jewish dishes, any vampires hating it? Yeah, you know what? The weird thing with the vampire hating garlic is more modern than that, than their whole history of existing. So that one just doesn't make sense. But if I remember correctly, they said that vampires are Jews because of their whole... Oh, he drinks blood, and it's exactly like when they said the Jews eat babies. I mean, yes, that is a saying that really falls, but so do people think other stuff. Or they used to before. Still, it's not really connected, especially when you look at their whole history of stuff. Like vampires in Eastern Europe, which were the biggest inspiration for Dracula, are dead. They're not Jews, they're not alive, they're dead. They're persons of mainly Orthodox beliefs, so they're not Jewish. But that was funny. Yeah, talking about that. Wait. I have two chats going at the same time, and it seems one of them is going faster. Aw, that's the Van Helsing lore tripping me up. Oh, yeah, Van Helsing, the abridged series was nice. Also, the original series. God, I used to love that one. I should rewatch it at some point. Huh. There's also Vampire Hunter D. Very interesting. But since I got to this point with Van Helsing, thanks to Nathan, and Eastern European vampires, since, it's cool. The fun fact about them is that, as I said, they were dead and they acted more like spirits and stuff rather than outright ghouls that you see in modern vampirism, which is interesting. Because they were dead people, like ghosts haunting houses. That's where they were mostly. And the only way to do it, to get rid of them, was to pull a stake through them. They usually hunted their family members. This is an important thing that never gets brought up in stories about vampires. Because when vampires are made, they firstly haunt their own relatives. Quite an interesting fact. It is believed in old villages in Romania and so on, that when a person dies, if he can't stand the loneliness of death, he takes one of his family members with him. Now, this is the whole dying of grief thing that we see in Star Wars with Padme Amidala. Okay, that's a nice thing that, we get some history context. I always thought Padme dying was dumb in Star Wars, gotta be honest with that. I always thought it was dumb. Still, I learned it's based on something true. Going back to vampires, wait. Okay, gotta change positions here to get serious with you. So we're gonna discuss some vampire lore. It's interesting that Bram Stoker wasn't the first one that made vampires. Quite frankly, Bram Stoker isn't the inventor of the whole vampire idea as this charismatic figure that lures in the ladies and drinks their blood and gets the wives of Dracula. No, that's a whole different aspect and whole different cultural thing. It still started in England, so all my British and English bros, you got that to pride yourself. But it started way before him. People really got into vampire stories and stuff in like the 1600s, 1700s in Europe. That's when the whole myths just exploded out of proportions. That's when it became cool to like vampires. Back then you didn't get vampire kits like you do today. Well, I guess that's also because there were no hot topics back then. Look at me talking about hot topics when I've never been to America. Whatever. That's when they really started to blow up, and they were usually very charismatic individuals that were luring and seducing, and many of them originally started with this thing where they haunted their family first. So that one is still kept true to its nature. There's also an interesting story made by Lord Byron, which I like, and let's see if I can find it. No, not here. I really want to read this to you. Let's see. Lord Byron. What was her name again? Vampire poem, I think it was. And yeah, the Vampire with an Y instead of an E. The Gyaur. Here's an extract from the Gyaur. But first on earth, as vampires sent, thy corse shall from its tomb be rent, then ghastly haunt thy native place, and suck the blood of all thy race. There from thy daughter, sister, wife, at midnight drain the stream of life. Yet loath the banquet which perforce must feed thy livid, thy livid living corpse. Thy victims, ere they yet expire, shall know the demon from their sire. As cursing thee, though cursing them, thy flowers are withered on the stem. Wet with thine own best blood shall drip, thy gnashing tooth and haggard lip. Then stalking to thy sullen grave, go, and with ghouls and afrits rave. Till these in horror shrink away from spectre more accursed than they. Absolute bars, exactly, Nathan. Absolute bars. Lord Byron is. You know, Lord Byron was a rapper today. Platinums everywhere. It would be like the best white rapper since John Cena. No joke about that. Since John Cena. That thing mentioned afrits, which are another interesting spirit. But vampires are interesting. Everybody knows that. Vampires are interesting because in Africa, they're different. In Africa, they suffer from OCD. Like, if you put rice in front of them, they have to stay and count every single piece of rice. It's quite funny. And the whole myth of vampires not coming in to your house unless you invite them in is also from African vampires. Which again is pretty cool. I like how it's mismatched. It's mostly based on European vampires, but they added these traits just to make them, I don't know, give them flaws. Because a vampire would be too overpowered for somebody to just outright kill. At the end, it doesn't really make sense to just go dig up a grave, put a stake through the heart of the corpse, and then be like, yeah, we defeated the evil vampire that has sucked the blood of all our sheeps. So I guess it makes sense. It makes sense to not give them, not make them that nerfed. Asian vampires are also interesting. The Chinese have a thing, and I really like the story about the Chinese vampires because it's something extraordinary. I gotta be honest, it's extraordinary. So in China, a lot of people died, as we all know. New emperor came, a bunch of people died. At some point, a family wanted to get their, dead body back. But the road was difficult, it was hard, and, it was long, and they didn't have that much money. So they would pay somebody. I forgot its name right now. I might look it up later on. They paid somebody to go retrieve the dead body. Now, this was cheaper than just sending somebody with a cart, because this person would walk through that body, and he would make rounds, collecting different corpses everywhere. And it's interesting because you would think that they would put them all on the cart and just drive them home. No, this was cheaper than a cart. And what would happen would be like, this guy would go find the corpses, scribble some kanji on a piece of paper, stick it to the dead body, and the dead body would come back to life. And the body would then follow this necromancer, you can call him, all the way home. And he would have this huge line of dead bodies just following him, because he would take multiple corpses to different places and just take them home like that. Once you remove the whole thing from the dead corpse's head, you know, it just becomes a corpse again. It doesn't move. Oh wait, the Jiangxi, exactly, the Jiangxi. Those things, if you watch Shaman King, if anybody watched Shaman King, it's like Li Pai Long, when he first got introduced, he had that whole thing. That's the thing, Now, I know they're technically more like zombies than vampires, but it's like the closest thing they have to vampires over there. And I really am interested in the way this whole idea started, because European vampires, I kind of get it with blood coming from the dead person and something happening. We get that. But with this having huge lines of dead people just walking, and they walk funnily. That's what I liked about it. They walk in a way that is, quite frankly, hilarious. I'm not sure if I can find the way they walk, but it's more like they're hopping without bending their knees and their arms stretched. And they're also a little bit bent backwards. They have their back bent. And they just hop around to different places following the necromancer. Now, sometimes it would happen that the necromancer would lose control of them. That's a thing. And then, boom, out of it. The vampire was free to do whatever he wanted. Close to. The Japanese also have one, and it's not really as interesting. It's not interesting at all. It's like a head. That's like the best way to describe it. It's like a head, a woman's head that drinks blood and pretends to be somebody's dead wife most of the time. It's not as interesting as this, Chinese zombie, Chinese vampire, and it's not as full of potential as the European vampire. It's just a head that pretends to be somebody's wife, and she drains him of blood. Because the whole Japanese have a weird thing with their dead people, evil spirits thing, where they possess stuff. Like a walking cane, for example. I guess it's cool at some point. Yeah, sure, the cat got possessed by a demon and now it wants to eat our faces. But we already do that once we die in the middle of nowhere, so, tomato. That's their whole deal. Anything else about vampires? Oh, yeah. Lord Byron was one of the first that came with that whole thing with the vampires. And he wasn't really the first one. I think the first writer for a vampire thing was a woman, still British, that made a story. If I remember correctly, it was about somebody falling in love with a vampire. Whatever. It's not that interesting, and it sounds too much like Twilight. Boy, do I hate Twilight. It made sense in Dracula when the vampires just lost part of their power in sunlight. It just didn't make any sense when they started sparkling. Why sparkle, though? Does it ever get explained in the books why they sparkle? Because I have no idea why they sparkle. Like, the movies don't tell you, they just show you, which I guess is a good way to do show, not tell. Show, don't tell, I guess. But how? How do we get to that? I want to know more. It's just... I'm going to probably look it up. Why do Twilight vampires sparkle? Sparklets. Do the crystalline properties of their cells. But wait. Vampires initially are dead bodies. They're dead humans. And dead humans left in the sunlight don't sparkle. They stink, to be honest. Okay, it's Twilight. It's Twilight. Everything's better than Twilight. Why am I trying to find out Twilight lore? I would much rather just do a lore on bronies or something. That would be fun. Okay, so now I know why they sparkle. Doesn't make any sense. Why though? The properties of their cells. I understand they went for the whole ghastly look with them, but still. It just made more sense if nothing happens to them in the sun. Since the way to kill vampires in Twilight is just cutting their heads off mostly. They're not really that affected by garlic or holy water. Oh yeah, this principle is really interesting. Vampirism is usually a curse given by God. And they do this in Vampire the Masquerade. It's a thing in the world of darkness where the vampires got created the moment Cain killed Abel. Very good, very good. I like that. He just curses Cain and everybody else that will be his offspring to suffer from this. And it's nice. It is a curse from God. Somebody asked, what if vampires change religions? What then? But since most of that... Oh, Tergor Twilight lore, Lord. Yeah, exactly. That's what I need. Yes, that's it. I will make a... I was born too late, too early, I guess, to be the Twilight lore channel. That would be something. The Twilight lore. And the story about Bella and Edward and the wolf guy. Jason? Derulo? I don't know. I remember I saw that guy in Grown Up with Adam Sandler. But yeah, Twilight lore. Oh boy, you have a way to doing it, bro. And I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, vampirism being a curse from God. They do this in Vampire the Masquerade. It's a curse from God to just turn their faces. Somebody asked what happens if vampires convert to Buddhism or to another religion. It doesn't really work because if vampirism is a curse from God, converting to Buddhism is something a vampire would do more out of spite than through religious belief, because there is none. They hate God, their soul is damned to hell after they're done with this blood drinking thing. But I'm gonna be obnoxious. You know, I like being obnoxious about things, especially Aurric. Aurric is an amazing series that I recommend everybody should read. Books, comic books, graphic novels, because it inspired a lot of stuff for both Warhammer. Yes, Warhammer, a lot of Warhammer, in fact. One of the main concepts of Warhammer, Warcraft, and The Witcher. But here's an interesting thing that I don't think many people know about Aurric. You know the way Alucard looks? The whole boyish thing, the whole white hair and so on. I'm gonna give you two pictures and we're gonna compare them. Let's first look for Alucard, which is Dracula spelled backwards. By the way, this isn't really a thing. Oh, of course, Alucard from Van Helsing. Always nice to have. Castlevanias. Okay, and now let's look this one. I think I have to be specific with Aurric of Melnibone. Since it's French and has that weird apostrophe there, I used to call it Aurric of Melnibone. Which is funny because there's this place in a video game called Wizards 101, which I think has bone in its name as well. Just looking for that perfect picture to show you something. Where are you? Oh, okay. So let's take off the beautiful Aurric Patricians, the misogynistic chapter. And why are you white? Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Huh. Thank you, OBS. Way to make me hate you. Oh, it's by web page. Ah, damn it. Anyway, this is Alucard. And this is one of his earlier renditions from, I think it was Symphony of the Night? Probably was Symphony of the Night, yes. You can see the whole pale looking thing with flowing white hair. Of course, have vampires who drinks blood. Sometimes. Never, okay, let's be honest, never. But still, it's a pretty interesting way of looking at it, and it is an iconic way to create a character. It's an iconic character. That's what Alucard is. But now let's compare Alucard to Aurric of Melnibone, or Melnibone, as they used to call it. Is it this one? No, this is a new tab. Where's my Aurric? What have you done, OBS? Where's my Aurric? Okay, so apparently it works like that. This is Aurric. Which one? Doesn't matter. Because I'm going to show you another picture. No, this is not it. The Moor Child. And Aurric of Melnibone. And the usual pictures of him, which hopefully will be safe for work. Hope so. Are these beautiful images with him having flowing white hair, eating sometimes blood and other living things, because Melnibonians are just built different. And here he is. Though that was the initial picture that I showed you was the most telling of where this whole vampire look that Alucard has, and that's been spread over some places, started with. If you're thinking about this, everything is an Aurric reference. At the end of the day, everything is an Aurric reference. You can't help it. You look at something like The Witcher, biggest franchise out there, video games, bad shows by Netflix, Aurric, Warcraft, biggest fantasy BS out there, written by people that can't write a rhyme. Aurric. Most of the good stuff was written, by the way. Most of the good stuff about Warcraft was taken from Aurric, and that's a few elements here and there, but still good. Our dear old Warhammer, which I love endlessly. Yep, that's also none other than Aurric. Aurric of Melnibone. At the end of the day, Aurric inspired everything. I am close to making the connection that Guts was also inspired by Aurric, despite Miura saying Gonagai's Devilman inspired it. And I am so close to it, though you can't take out of the discussion the whole Devilman inspiration, which, funny enough, I think was released 1 year either before or after the first Aurric book. I think it was after. It was after the first Aurric book. So again, everything is an Aurric reference. Razorfist went over this a lot, but I have to also say my parts on that. OMG, was that an Aurric reference? Exactly, it was an Aurric reference. Basically, Aurric is what JoJo is to many people. It's an Aurric reference. I'm gonna use that one, Nathan. I'm gonna use that one. Was that an Aurric reference? I'm gonna ask this question whenever I see a chaos symbol somewhere, or a For the Emperor chant. Which, okay, granted, For the Emperor might have been taken from Dune. Still, it also appears in Aurric, so everything's an Aurric reference. Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. Now, if everybody was as open to their Aurric inspirations as Michael Moorcock was with his inspirations for this, things would have been different. No, they haven't. No, they wouldn't. At the end of the day, they wouldn't have been different. But still, it would have been nice. I just like Aurric. Oh boy. I spent a few hours with the whole comparison between Alucard from Castlevania to Aurric with my wife, because my wife just didn't want to believe me. It's an Aurric inspiration. It was like, no, vampires are like this from the beginning. Not really. What can you do? The fights you have in love. Sometimes we fight over random fictional characters and who can beat who. We still haven't settled the debate between Goku and Superman, but we're getting close to it. We're getting very close to it. Okay, and this was my frustrations. I don't think I have anything else. Talk about vampires. I like that. Talked about the Warhammer Wiki being wrong. And I did make up lore for the Aurric Patricians, who are misogynistic. That's part of their gene seed trait now. Yeah, so, yeah, the Imperial Fist can't spit acid. The Aurric Patricians are misogynistic. All's good in a perfect world, and we don't live in that world, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think I'll end things here. I think it's a good point. 40 minutes. I'm surprised I managed to get to 40. I was expecting to do like half an hour. Not really that good at talking anymore. Oh yeah, I was supposed to say bye. So, no. I'll do it specially. I'll do the outro. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.